Hey everyone, Ben here from Pixel Portable. I hope you're well. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about what your favorite handheld says
about you.
Let's just do it. If your favorite handheld is the original Game Boy, then you're so old that if I told you to act your age, you would in fact turn into a fossil and crumble before my very eyes. Either that, or you would be wearing rose-tinted glasses that are so heavily tinted that all you can see is the blinding red light as you desperately search for anything that reminds you of your childhood, any nostalgia, any serotonin, because adult life has just has got a grip on you, and I can completely understand that. If that's your favorite, it's probably because you grew up with it and you are a rich kid and you loved having 6 batteries that you had to reload each time you ran out of batteries, and you liked the ghosting and screen tearing on the screen, and you liked the capacitors exploding as you got older. If your favorite handheld is the Game Boy Color, this means that you were really into that 90s hardware aesthetic, and you liked swapping out batteries as well, which you still could do, and you had a combination of games. You probably even had an original Game Boy and upgraded to Game Boy Color, where you could play your Game Boy games and your Game Boy Color games, and you could play Pokemon, and you could play Pokemon Gold, Pokemon Silver, and Pokemon Crystal, and you probably played all of those. If it's your favorite console, you definitely played one of them. It's almost guaranteed. It's always guaranteed. If your favorite handheld is the Game Boy Advance, this one's a little bit more tricky because this was the last time you got to have the experience of reloading batteries in and out of a handheld. You get a massive game library with the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy games. Or you could be in the other camp of people that love the Game Boy Advance, and that's because you love how affordable and cheap they are to pick up today, and to upgrade and give them a nice shiny IPS screen and USB-C charging, and basically bring that old hardware up to date today and play your original games on it. And I don't really have anything bad to say about that. I think that's kind of cool. So I think if you're really into the Game Boy Advance, you're into the 2000s aesthetic, you love playing probably Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. There are other games than Pokemon, but they're the most popular that most people have played. You're a person of culture, probably, maybe. If your favorite handheld was the Game Boy Advance SP, not only did you play this all the time at night, but you also loved Linkin Park, you also loved Limp Bizkit, you loved wearing baggy skater jeans, you had a chain coming from your pocket, probably, you wore a flame shirt, you'd never catch me doing those things, and you just generally liked the fact that it was super portable, that you could climb it up, put it in your pocket, go out, hang out with your friends. But if you got bored, or if you're waiting for your parents to pick you up, you're in a telephone box. Yeah, that was a thing. Telephone box, calling reverse charge calls to get your parents to come out and grab you. Because you spent a whole day skating. Yeah, that's when something like this would come in really handy. You could crack it open, play some games. If your favorite handheld of all time is the Game Boy Micro, then you're pretty obscure. You like obscure things. You either never had one of these growing up and you saw them and thought, wow, that's a really cool and small way to play Game Boy Advance games. They were expensive, so you were either the rich kid back in the day, or you were an adult and had adult money and you bought it because it was pocketable and you could play it on your toilet break at work, play some Advance Wars. Something you'd never catch me doing in the toilet, playing Advance Wars. Fire Emblem Sacred Swords? Nah. Not me. You'd never see me do that. If your favorite is the fat original Nintendo DS, then you have not played any of the other DSs, and you are really attached to the bulky, almost unpocketable size of the original DS. The DS obviously plays the Nintendo DS games, but also plays Game Boy Advance games, thanks to the fact that it has still got a Game Boy slot, so you've got some backwards compatibility. You'll no longer be able to play your Game Boy Color games and your Game Boy games, but I guess that's what your Game Boy Advance is for, right? You have got abandoned Nintendogs starving somewhere, starving for attention, starving for love, and you probably also have the same problem with your Animal Crossing New Leaf residents who have never seen you, or haven't seen you in probably 20 years, 10 years, some years, many years.
XL.
If your favorite, on the other hand, isn't the fat DS, but is the DS Lite, then I think you're onto a winner, because you've got a smaller, pocketable form factor that can go into your pocket. You can play all your Game Boy Advance games still. You can play all your DS games still. So you've got access to your library. You've also played probably way too much PictoChat, if you remember that. Shout outs in the comments for PictoChat, or PictoChat as it was sometimes called. Probably a good idea that they got rid of that, actually. If your favorite handheld is the DSi XL, then I have nothing but admiration for you, because it is a fantastic choice. That is the best screen to play DS games on, hands down. And you get all of the luxuries of but you can also still play your DS games. You lose access to being able to play your Game Boy Advance games. That is the price of success, I think, in this case, because you've got the most premium system, big screen, nice pocketability, executive-like finish, fantastic handheld. Oh!
Look at that subtle off-white coloring. The tasteful thickness of it. Oh my god.
If the PSP is your favorite handheld of all time, I get it. I get it. It's a great handheld. I had this when I was in university, and yeah, something about UMDs was really good. You know, like no other games before this had the space that a UMD had. I might be wrong there, but I think DS cartridges are quite small in their size capacity versus a UMD. You could watch movies, you had UMDs, you could even rent UMD movies from Blockbuster back in the day. Yeah, I would watch movies, play games on the way to university. The disc loading wasn't the best, but you know, battery life was good. Had great games on it. Your PSP was pretty slept on back in the day. But yeah, PSP, pretty goated, and they're still not too bad to buy today. Just make sure your battery has been changed and it isn't an original one, because even mine became a spicy pillow and had to be disposed of before it would dispose of me in a house fire. If you really love the PSP, then you probably played too much Patapon, you definitely played too much Monster Hunter, and it was a great time to be alive. They were you could charge them very easily, you could have them on the go. Batteries lasted a good amount of time, you could carry spares on you, changing batteries was easy. Yeah, PSP was pretty good. Set a benchmark for quality as well. Handheld quality, they're very durable units. I don't own the original 3DS. In fact, I don't even own a 3DS XL anymore. But what I do have are two other variants. I have the 2DS Wedge, which was so slept on, and I remember they're still really cheap compared to a 3DS equivalent, but only a couple of years ago I was looking at the prices of these and I was saying, wow, £40, £50 for a 2DS Wedge. It plays all the 3DS games and the DS games. And people just didn't like the Wedge form factor. They didn't like the cheese block form factor, but it was built like a tank because it was built for kids. And yeah, they're really good. So if your favorite is the Wedge, then you're a utilitarian. You know what works for you. It's a low cost of entry, very durable. The only downside to the 2DS the original 2DS, as you'll know if you own one, is the dreaded top screen loves to get dust under it. And I'm looking to maybe take mine apart and see if I can get a rubber gasket around my screen and keep dust out forever, but it might be impossible, I don't know. I'm definitely going to try though, because I love the 2DS Wedge. Very cool. If your favorite handheld is the 2DS XL, which is the cut down, cheaper, lower build quality feeling 3DS, but the large one, yeah, that's probably my favorite. Maybe. I don't know. It's really high on the list. If I had to make a list, it'd be really high on it. They were affordable. They are, you know, they got a big screen. They play all the games. You have access to, like if you played a lot of the 2DS XL, there's so many games that you could have played if you were into 3DS that I can't even easily pinpoint you down and say, oh, you played Pokemon. I mean, yes, there are Pokemon games on the 3DS, but there are so many other brilliant games, Fire Emblems, Yokai Watch, Cold Seps. No one's heard of that except for me, but that's fine. And if you're into the 3DS, you're currently still using your 3DS and you're desperately trying to get some street passes. I know you are. I'll leave mine on now to see if I can get any. I get some every now and then. If your favorite handheld is the PlayStation Vita, you are the coolest person I know. Because the PS Vita in the West was really, really slept on. It was quite popular in Japan, but it was not so popular over here in the West. And as a result, there aren't that many units. They're quite expensive over here now. There aren't a huge amount of games compared to what was released in Japan. A lot of those games didn't get translated over. But the PlayStation Vita, it's the easiest console to... Yeah. And then once you do that, you got access to a ton of stuff, ton of games. Very, very good console. Build quality is just... Screen quality, because I got a 1000, which I didn't even know was an OLED. Oh, I go onto any other of my handhelds now, and I immediately feel sad that they're not OLED. And in fact... If there was one thing that I would do if I had the time, money, and in a lot of the examples, the resources actually existing, I would put OLED on every single one of those because I love OLED screens. They look great. They look fantastic. So yeah, if your favorite handheld is the PS Vita, I applaud you. I think this is a very good choice. I can't say anything bad. I can't say anything bad about it, really. If your favorite handheld is a little or big or any of the new portable emulators that can play PlayStation, SNES, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, you've even got some on the horizon now and even one that's just released that is built to play DS, you're just optimizing your time and your money, right? It's one thing to have, you know, look at it this way. If you wanted to play Game Boy games, Game Boy Advance games, DS games, just that alone, you'd need at least 2 handhelds. But why have 2 consoles when you can have one that can fit in not just handhelds, but also consoles as well? Then yeah, you just respect your own time and you respect your own money, and you probably sail the high seas quite a lot. But other than that, I got nothing I can say. It's not original hardware, so it's not something that I'm, you know, fussed with. I think it's cool that you can do that. And given how hard it is for some games to get preserved or even be accessible, you know, it was only recently that Survival Kids came out on the Nintendo Switch, and before that, if you wanted to own Survival Kids legally, you had to buy a game, and the games were about £400-500 for one game. You tell me. If your favorite is the Switch Lite, then you're obviously a child who is this tall, whatever. You're obviously a child or an amoeba, a tiny being that with grubby hands that likes to go, oh, serotonin. If your favorite handheld is the original Switch, I get it. There's a great array of titles on the Switch. There's a lot of flops, you know. I'm not gonna be nice about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'm not gonna be nice about Arceus. They were bad games, in my opinion. I'm not even going to be nice to a game that I like 𝙋𝙊𝙍𝙀𝙇 game where you build ships. That's a terrible game. There's a lot of bad games, a lot of stinkers on the Switch, but there's a lot of bangers on the Switch too. And if you have access to Switch Online, which is quite cheap really for the service, you get access to a lot of old Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and if you've got a Switch 2, even GameCube now, games, which is incredible. Small enough that you can take them in a bag, take them traveling with you, they're okay for a flight. They are tolerable in size. And speaking of tolerable in size, we're going to move to intolerable in size. You're a PC gamer that's cosplaying as a handheld gamer. That's it. That's all it is. You know, the Steam Deck is so ridiculously big that you are a person of comforts and power. You want to play graphically powerful games that cannot be played on a Switch, cannot be played on a Vita, and you want them on a giant screen, and you want a billion different controls. And that's the Steam Deck. You know, the Steam Deck is a bit of everything. It's like an official handheld, and it is like the portable emulator market mixed together, and you get this hybrid handheld that is too big to be called pocketable. You know, you're not sliding this into your pocket and being like, oh yes, I'll just bring this out on the bus or on the tube. You know, that's not happening. This is for flights. This is for laying around in your own house. This is the lazy gamer's equivalent of handheld gaming. I've got no beef with it. I think it's got a place, and you like playing your PC titles that you've built up on Steam, and you want to be able to play emulated games too, which you can do. You know, the Steam Deck does it all. The only thing it doesn't do is make itself in a package that is portable friendly. And as a handheld gaming enthusiast, portability is a big issue for me. So I play my Steam Deck in my house or on flights and basically nowhere else. So these are just my little thoughts on what your favorite handheld says about you. It's obviously very tongue-in-cheek and satire, and don't take it too seriously. I'm just some guy on the internet. No need to be mad. But if you are mad, you know, slap it in the comments how I'm so wrong and that you're so right. And I'm sure I'll read them, and maybe I'll take a sip of my coffee as I do it. Oh, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to do all that, you know, clicking the like button, subscribing, all that sort of thing if you want to see more content. So yeah, do that. Don't forget to do that. Please don't forget to do that. Please don't forget to do that. Please. If you forget, I will die. I will become a memory no more. It doesn't go super high. So if you aim that, if you hold right click and aim it up to like the highest point that you can place it, and then place it.
Is this got a hook on it? I thought it was just general rope.
No, yeah, it's got a hook.
Okay.
You'll see. Just don't spool any out and use some like that. Oh, you threw it. That's different.
Yeah, that's...
When we go into the shops, spending money till you drop.